Hello everyone, I am Himasati Sharma and students, we are discussing the chapter Forest Our Lifeline for class 7. So, as we know that forest is a habitat of many kind of animals and many kind of plants as well. Why it is a habitat of many kind of animals and plants? Because they provide favorable environmental conditions like suitable temperature, suitable availability of water, humidity, etc. Food and shelter to a variety of wild animals, insect and microorganisms. The trees of forest act as their shelter. This means the trees provide a home to the animals, while a variety of plants and animals are the food of the animals. Now, forests are a home to a variety of insects also, microorganisms also, and because of the insects and microorganisms, the soil of the forest is highly fertile and therefore it provides favorable living conditions such as water and nutrients to these organisms as well. So in a forest, if we see what are the kind of living organisms living, they can be divided into producers, consumers and decomposers. So producers, the organisms are grouped as producers, consumers and decomposers, which is based on the manner in which they obtain their sustenance or the food from the environment. So first of all, we will discuss the producers. So all organisms which can prepare their own food by the process of photosynthesis using the radiant energy of the sun absorbed by the chlorophyll of the leaves are called producers. So in our very first chapter of this class 7, we had studied that autotrophs are able to prepare their own food through the process of photosynthesis because they contain chlorophyll, which is green in color. Next are consumers. What are the consumers? Consumers are the organisms which are dependent upon the producers for their food, either directly or indirectly. Now, these consumers can be classified into primary, secondary and tertiary consumers based on their mode of nutrition. So, in our first line, we had said that organism which consumes the food produced by the producers either directly or indirectly. What does it mean? So, like rabbit is a consumer and it is dependent on the grass as it eat grass directly. Now, rabbit is eaten by, for example, a wolf or a fox. So, the wolf or a fox is eating the rabbit who is dependent upon the grass. So, now the wolf is also a consumer and it is indirectly dependent upon the producers, right? All herbivores and some parasites are primary consumers. Example, rabbit which eat grass. Many small carnivore and some parasite are secondary consumer, for example, snake which eat rabbits. And large carnivores and omnivores are tertiary consumers, example, owl which eat snakes. Now we'll talk about decomposers. So the organism which break down the dead remains and the waste product of organism are called decomposers. So once the animals and the plants die inside the forest, how do they decompose? So they decompose with the help, the decomposers decompose those organisms. Now, decomposers break down the complex organic substances into simple inorganic substances which can be absorbed by the soil. And those nutrients then will be utilized by the plants. Similar way, forests also support different food chains because of complex biodiversity in the forest. Different organisms present on the earth are dependent on each other, that we know since we have from the time we have started this chapter, that they are interdependent. For instance, herbivores feed on the plants, like primary consumer is dependent upon the plant or the producer, and carnivore is dependent upon the herbivore. So now this chain of organism of who is eating whom or being dependent on each other for their food is called food chain. So here in this food chain, you can see that this producer is making food with the utilization of water and sun. Now this producer is eaten by herbivores, which is a primary consumer. Now this herbivore is eaten by the secondary consumer, and secondary consumers are being eaten by tertiary consumers, and once anybody in this chain dies, it will be decomposed by decomposers, and the nutrients will be returned to the soil, which will be available, which will be made available to the producer for making the food. So this cycle goes and goes on. So this is called food chain in the forest. So later part of the chapter we'll be taking in our next video. Thank you so much.